Hello, it's the Anfield Wrap. It's John Gibbons hosting this week. I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by Jamie Webster, by Lizzi Doyle and by Jamie McKenna. And we're all made up because Liverpool have won again. It's been a great start to the season so far. We beat Crystal Palace 3-0 to continue our unbeaten start to the season. And to talk about all that and get stuck in. First of all, Jay, it was a bit of a mad team when we sort of came out. I can't remember a time where I've seen the whole backline changed apart from... Rafa, when he was going well in the Champions League and used to swerve David Lee claims to play like Pellegrini and all that. But, considering, it was such a big game for Liverpool, quite a sort of surprise to see a change back line.
It was a massive surprise to me, particularly I got in late and then was like, wow, Canate's playing? My God, why is James Milner stood there?
That was like the old days before Twitter, wasn't it? When you'd spend the first 2 minutes working out to be picked.
I hadn't checked any of the team. I'd got to the ground late, got in the game late, didn't hear anything about it and was like, what, who are these? What's the matter with all of these? So it was quite strange. At first I thought like Jürgen might be making a point, but I think clearly wants to kind of keep them fresh. I know Arnold couldn't play, but I think I think that influenced how we played early on. I kind of think we just didn't get our rhythm. The kind of fullbacks weren't quite off from what we used to do, and certainly Milner as a release kind of like Henderson was having to go wide, Salah's going wide, but generally thinking about that, aside from once you got past the initial surprise, I think it's quite pleasing that we can kind of make those changes. The lads just come in, they do the job, they get the win. I think that's really important. I think, hindsight, if we'd have not picked up the points, people would have been like, he's made too many changes, he's done this, didn't need to do those things. But I think we moan about kind of keeping players fresh. We've had this issue in previous seasons when the centre-halves have been injured, and we should be pleased really that we've made those changes and largely, come away with a decent performance and thinking, Liverpool absolutely deserved the win. All of them played well, got minutes under the belt, certainly Canate. So I think I come away from that kind of like, aside from the initial surprise when I walked in and like, who are these lads? Is like kind of generally pleased that, Liverpool as a squad can cope with games like Crystal Palace, which notoriously have been difficult for us. Yeah,
in terms of the back line, he's picked all 4 centre-halves over the last week or so. Presumably that was planned. We will talk about Milner in a minute. That very much wasn't, but it's planned. I think that he's going to play all them 3, and he's got 3 clean sheets, which A, shows that they're all pretty good at football, but B, sort of the manager will be made up there, won't he?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I was quite surprised to see Matip midweek. Like I was thinking maybe he'll do a Gomez or Canate with Van Dijk midweek and play Matip for the league, because I just presume that's what he'd be doing, and because we all thought that Matip couldn't play more than 1 game a week. But I didn't expect Canate. I thought he'd bring Van Dijk back in, and I thought he'd bring Gomez maybe, but Gomez will probably play tomorrow, won't he? I thought he'd done all right. And listen, at the end of the day, it was the lads' first game at Anfield in the Premier League. You've got to get up to speed, haven't you? Jay's just absolutely trolling me here. Completely lost my train of thought.
It's John Envy.
John Envy's on the blower. So basically I thought with Canate, like, it's his first game at Anfield, isn't it? And he hasn't played in the Premier League before, so I didn't think there shouldn't have been a ton of pressure on him. I thought he was really good, he was solid, I was really impressed with him. I think there was just 1 or 2 occasions, but I'm fine with it, where he just looked a little bit cautious, where I think maybe like Matip maybe would have brought the ball forward a little bit. I felt like he he'd either passed to Virgil or he wasn't really taking risks. But to be honest, we didn't need to be taking risks in a game like that, like you say, with a bit of a, I don't want to say makeshift back four, but a completely different back line. Like say he's playing on the side of Milner, obviously, who doesn't usually play right back, who's being drafted in. So I mean, we got a clean sheet, and with the way that they played against Tottenham the other week, Palace, I was really, really happy with them.
Yeah, stick on Canate then. What did you make of him, Jay? Obviously, it's first game, isn't it? So as Lizzie says, he's always going to be a bit sort of within himself. But what did you think of him generally?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was a couple of little shaky moments, weren't there? But maybe a couple of lapses of communication between him and the keeper early on, whatnot. But by and large, he was there to look. We knew what Palace were going to do. We knew there was going to be a long ball up and over the top to Benteke time and time again. And it's better to have. He's obviously an aerial presence, do you know what I mean? I think him and Van Dijk made sense against Palace. I think, by and large, his performance, he solid, steady, like Lizzie said, do you know what I mean? There wasn't any unbelievable things that he done where I thought, wow, this lad's a world beater, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But there was nothing that made me think this lad's not going to be able to play in this side at the same time. One thing that impressed me at the end of the first half was sort of the ball got fizzed in and he done a little dummy on the edge of the box and it comes to Jota, and it was a good little move, and you know, I don't think anyone on the pitch or in the crowd seen that little dummy coming. I think we were all expecting him to get it under control and maybe just give the ball back the same way it come. And so it shows he's got it in his locker. It'll just take time. Like we said, it's his first competitive game for Liverpool, especially coming in at Anfield. You knew he was going to have a bit of a hard time with Benteke and then Edouard, and he was obviously on the side of Zaha, so he was cautious about, you know, covering for Milner, but he didn't need to because Milner absolutely booted him up and down the pitch, didn't he? Which was amazing to see. You know, Milner just showed his professionalism, got in his head, and I think that was a good thing for Konate, having Milner alongside him as well in his first game rather than Trent. You know, we know how amazing Trent is, and it was unfortunate that he couldn't play and whatnot, but I think to have someone, you know, a 35, 36-year-old James Milner with all the experience just next to you, just coaching you through, you know what I mean? Just in your head, on your shoulder, whenever you need him, you know he's going to be there. And yeah, it was the top performance for Milner. And yeah, Konate, I think he done his job. Do you know what I mean? I just don't think there's anything more to say. I think he's going to have a hard time getting in ahead of Joel Matip, who is, for me, at the minute, probably the most informed defender out of the lot of the back four.
100%.
Centre halves. I think he's impressed me more than anyone out of the centre halves from what I've seen this season. But you know, he's a young lad. It shows he looked like he had.
He's only about 21, isn't
exactly,
he? 21, 22.
He had a big smile on his face.
He did enjoy it, didn't he?
Yeah, that's it. You know, you see the smile on his face. He's come from the French league to experience playing for an informed Liverpool team. You know, winning near enough every game that they've had to win this season. And yeah, he enjoyed it, you know what I mean? You could see, he got involved with the lads when Keita smashed in that third one, and yeah, it was just boss to see players coming in and not looking out of place, in the first game. And there was a few. Tsimikas again was great, and yeah, I'm just really looking forward. It's nice to see the rotation, but it's also nice to see that, it's not we rotated and we got away with it that week. It's like we rotated and we still look comfortable winners. Do you know what I mean? And we've done it a lot this season, and yeah, I've been really, really impressed with them coming out the blocks this season, and loads of clean sheets, loads of goals. Sound, innit?
It is sound. We could leave it there, or let's do the rest of the show on Joel Matip. James Milner, Jay, he's really impressive. He gets the nod in the morning that he's playing, and not just playing, but playing right back, and not just playing right back up against Zaha, who's caused us a few problems. I did enjoy him skitting Trent after the game, saying he had Trent went down with a case of Zaha-itis, which is quite funny. So he's going to give him some stick there, and I'm sure he'll be saying, "Listen, Trent, I'll bail you out. I fucking boxed it." But he was great, wasn't he? All things considered, he was brilliant.
Yeah, what a pro to turn up in that game. Hasn't quite played as many minutes for Liverpool lately as he might have liked. Playing full back in a new back line. Kind of the way we use our full-backs. I was, certainly the first 5-10 minutes, I was thinking, is this going to be harder for us? We haven't kind of got that outlet of Trent a few times, even overlapping the crosses, and you're thinking, Trent might cross that from deeper, he's got that ability, and you think, we're going to miss something here, but Milner just done the job. He just knows what he needs to do. Zaha must have just been thinking, I reckon in a way, Zaha probably would prefer to have played against Trent, because he might have thought, I can get a bit of space here, Trent will leave me a bit of space. And then when he's playing against Milner, he might have been thinking, this fella's a bit older, I can get behind him here. Yeah. And then it doesn't matter, because Milner's right leg and his hip are just going to put you on your ass time and time again. And I think it's that pro in him, isn't it? He knows Zaha's going to beat him for pace. He just knows he needs to foul him. He knows where to foul him on the pitch. He knows how to stop him. He got in Zaha's head. Zaha was getting bothered by it, incessantly. So to come in and do that on the morning of the game, hasn't prepared for it, hasn't been in training all week, kind of planning to play right back against Crystal Palace, he should be commended. And I've seen a thing that the longest he's spent anywhere in his career is at Liverpool, which is quite surprising when you're associating with other clubs. And, I just hope there's there aren't many more seasons in James Milner, but I hope there's maybe one or two more James Milners in some of the squad we've got, people like Henderson who can just keep doing the job for Liverpool, because you need those players in games like this. Trent comes downhill. We'd have all been, in other times, if there wasn't James Milner, thinking, well, who's going to play right back here? Do you know what I mean? We're going to have to play Gomez right back. We're going to have to kind of rejig the back line. But Milner just comes in, does his job, and finishes. Do you know what I mean? Kind of no sweat from him. So, we need that. I think, particularly if we are going to rotate, we need, kind of, as Jamie was saying before, Konate's got Virgil van Dijk on one side, and he's got James Milner on the other. Well, that makes a world of difference to him starting as well. And Milner just knows he'll just go about his business. So, no, I think it was really good. I think he kind of, you know, he might find himself playing a bit more like that this season, I suspect, you know, kind of taking other people's kind of, you know, giving them their rest. But, no, really pleased. And you wouldn't imagine he was as old as he is.
Yeah, I've got some stats, Lizzie. Bear with me. Sit down. There's a lot of them. So Milner topped the team statistics for touches, passes in the opposition half, possession gains, crosses, tackles and interceptions. So he was top for Liverpool for all those things. So that's on the ball, off the ball. He's just doing bits.
He's unreal, and it doesn't surprise me. And I think another stat for you, John. I think he's done 11k in the match, which was more than anyone. It's something ridiculous. I can't even run a 5k without getting out of bed.
It was 10.9 because someone on Match of the Day got the stats up and went, I thought it was 109k, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only reason I know it, you know.
Oh, well, fair enough. We'll give him the extra 0.1.
He probably just did that in the changes.
Exactly, yeah. But it doesn't surprise me. And you know what? When I saw the team sheet, like, it doesn't bother me at all when I see Milner at right back, because I do think you know what you're going to get. But I thought of the first half, like, I turned to my brother and I said, like, we're missing Trent's sort of attacking presence here, and it's not just Trent, but you're missing Robertson on the other side, and obviously we're so used to playing with the fullbacks pushing high. And I was I wasn't worried. It was just something I'd noticed and I picked up on. But what I'd also like to say is we're always talking about different ways to win, and people moaning that there's no plan B and all that, and what if the fullbacks aren't working? Well, that goes to show you, say we didn't have our two first choice fullbacks. Okay, yeah, and we mightn't have had like the high press from them, the switches, we might not have had that, but they still managed to do a job and they still managed to get a win without what has been such a successful outlet for Liverpool. And for James Milner, like, I was just listening to you there and I'm thinking, I feel so sorry for everyone, because they don't have a James Milner. Like, they don't have James Milner. They might have like a poor version of him, but how lucky are we to have a fella like him at our club? And I think, you know, before the start of the season, when it was all that transfer chaos and people talking about depth and stuff, people write him off a bit, but I mean, I think we're all sensible enough to know he's not going to start every game. But let's say he gets 15 games, 20 games this season. You know, if James Milner's in your team, if James Milner's in the starting 11, or if he's your first sub off the bench, I'm so happy with that, because I think he's an unbelievable professional, and sometimes you need him in a game like that. When I did see it was Milner, I was worrying a little bit about pace and stuff like that. I mean, now I just feel like a divvy, because what was I worrying about? He was outstanding, and he's not going to play there every week. But the fact that we've got him to step in, I just think is a brilliant asset.
Yeah, absolutely. Onto the midfield then, Jay. It's the midfield that a lot of people wanted to see. We were looking forward to Fabinho, Henderson and Thiago. Not been able to see too much of it over the last year or so for a variety of reasons, well, mainly injuries. But the three of them in there this game for 60 minutes at least. What did you make of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where we were obviously strongest. Do you know, you talk about the front three and we know what we've got there, but yeah. I think like that's where we won the game. I think it was in the midfield. I think, you know, when you put Fabinho, who's playing the best football, some of the best football I've seen him play for Liverpool at the minute, I just think he's just a Rolls Royce of a footballer. You know, like you have defensive midfielders, good defensive midfielders, and then you have Fabinho. Do you know what I mean? Like, there were nothing seems to get past him. The way he brings the fullbacks into play, it's effortless. Do you know what I mean? You look at other players who played in that position for us, and sometimes it takes them 2, 3, 4 touches to get the ball out the feet. And with Fabinho, it just looks so effortless. And then obviously Henderson was brilliant. I thought, like what Jay touched on earlier, was that obviously we didn't have Trent as much as we, you know, as a winger, so to speak, and so that Salah could pick up the positions in the box. You did see Henderson coming out on the right hand side, and I thought between him, Milner and Salah, they linked up really well. Yeah. And obviously there was Palace's mate. I thought Palace's left back was a really good player, and as well as, you know, him and Zaha sort of coming down that left hand side. I thought the fact that Henderson coming over to this side of the pitch really done a job. And Thiago, again, I just think he's a really, really, really tidy, clever player, you know what I mean? He just keeps it moving all the time. Again, those passes in behind that takes other players 2 or 3 touches to just get them into feet, nice. And also, it's never behind the man, you know what I mean? It's always right on the tip of Salah's boot where it needs to be, likewise with Mane. And a couple of times I think Thiago, maybe he tried to drill a couple of low ones diagonally and he got intercepted, but by and large, you know, before the injury, obviously we don't know how long he's going to be out, but I think towards the very back end of last season with Thiago, we seen once Fabinho come back into the team, the player that he could be and will be. I think it's just going to take a few games of them all to play together in order for us to see the very best of what they can produce. Do you know what I mean? I mean, they were good midfield yesterday. It was solid. You know, didn't look like anything was going to pass through them, and doesn't look like many teams will this season if they play together enough together. Do you know what I'm saying? Obviously he's going to rotate, but I think for that midfield three to really excel and be talked about as one of the best midfields in the league, I think it's not rocket science. They've got to play together quite a bit. And obviously we know Jurgen likes to, Kate to come on towards the end of the game and done really well. He obviously likes Harvey Elliott. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. He likes to give Curtis Jones a go. He likes to swap his midfield about. So whether we will see the best of them in a short space of time, that remains to be seen. But I think it was definitely a good start of what we can expect. You know what I mean? A solid midfield of Fabinho's 25, 26, but he plays like a 32-year-old, doesn't he? In terms of his experience in his head and the way he reads the game. And obviously Henderson and Thiago are both, if they're not both 30, Thiago's very nearly 30, and so they're the seasoned pros now. You know what I mean? They've won big trophies between them two, and that's what we're going to see. We're going to see leadership. We're going to see them take the game by the scruff of the neck, and when everyone's panicked, I think we're going to see them settle us down and get back to playing your football. Short passes, movements, and that's what we need in order for the front three then to be able to do their job. You know what I mean? They need the service, they need the space to be created for them, they need the players who, like Thiago, they're always going to see that run, that Mo Salah run, that Sadio Mane run inside or outside. Henderson and Thiago are going to be the players who are going to see those first time passes out of anyone else in the team at the minute, I think. And yeah, I think that's what's going to be the key to our success really this season. If there is to be success, it's going to be understanding of each other, like what we've had in years before, where everyone knew the role, everyone knew everyone else's role and the best of each other's abilities, and we play to our strengths. And I think that's just going to come. I think Jurgen's still in the back of his mind. I think he almost knows his best team, almost, but I think over the next few weeks we're going to see if chopping and changing, and he's really going to make his decision. And I then think once you come into that Christmas sort of, late winter run where it seems to matter between, say, November and the end of January, where it really matters. I think in those big games we will know our best team, then our best 11, and that will be the team that we come to expect for those games. But until then, obviously Thiago's picked up another injury now, so who's he going to bring in? Is he going to give Curtis Jones a go? Maybe it's time to let him have a couple of games, see how he does. A young local lad, obviously loads of confidence and dying to get on the pitch and get minutes, so that's what you want, innit? But then obviously Case has just scored an absolute worldie with his left peg, so he's got an argument to be in the side. But it's exciting that we don't know who, and each player brings a little something different, and we're all excited to see the best of that player because we haven't seen it yet. And it's sound, isn't it?
I think just on that point that you've just said there, Jamie, about it might be till Christmas till we sort of see a best team. I think we're forgetting that Liverpool are a year behind, a season behind, because we brought these players in last season. We brought Thiago in, we brought Jota in, Tim McCaskey. They didn't have a chance to get to know each other last season because of the horrendous injuries and the way that they were just thrown together and just told to do a job that maybe they wouldn't have done. And I think we're almost a year behind. And so in an ideal world, obviously last season would have been the time to test out what's your best midfield and stuff like that. But it's going to be so interesting to see from Klopp, and it will really show how good of a manager he is, that the pressure is on this season. It's even more competitive now with the likes of Chelsea and United being thrown in the mix. He's got less time to find that out and to see how he does it and sort of like where he plays them and when. I think will be really interesting to see.
I mean, it's a really good point on understanding, Jay. You need to sort of bear that in mind for any sort of group of players sort of playing together. What I really liked was how often you saw Henderson and Thiago in the box, and I think when you looked at that midfield in theory, you could say, such quality, they'll control games like Jamie's saying there, but is there enough sort of attacking quality, or is that person sort of burst into the box? It looked to me like Henderson, Thiago were taking it in turns. Thiago's winning headers in the box every week at the moment, doesn't he?
Great in the air though, isn't he? For a little fella.
Yeah, so he obviously has the ball in the net against Leeds, which is disallowed for the offside and the build up, but then another good save here. Henderson, who's coming in back post, puts a sort of decent volley in, a decent save from from the keeper on that. They are sort of getting forward, which you need, and they seem to be like, you know, choosing the moments, and that'll come, I think, even more over time as they do get to know each other.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised at kind of their attacking intent. You look at that midfield and you might kind of do think players who can get a pass, look neat and tidy, but getting close to the box. Thiago's looked good in and around the box in some games last season, but kind of when we've played him in that more advanced role, you kind of think, you know, can they create something, particularly when we've had Elliott, someone who'll get on the ball and run, and, you know, kind of is an attacker playing in midfield, really. But I think it looked really good, and a bit like what Jamie was saying there about how that midfield will work. You've got Fabinho knowing what he can do, so I think it just gives them a bit of license to go forward, and I can easily see that being subject to injuries. The midfield he'll pick in like the big games. I think that'll be the kind of the midfield for United, City, and, you know, I know we've got City coming up, and injury, you know, Thiago's injury might change that, but that'll be the midfield you'd go to, kind of ones you can bank on, but also showing there that they can do something. I think there was something in how they played as well. Thiago and Fabinho, particularly, and Henderson, you know, can pass too, is they get us up the pitch very, very quickly. You know, they kind of give the ball into Fabinho and Thiago a few times. Some of them were over it, but that and under hit. But that diagonal pass out to Salah, you know, you could well imagine them doing that with Robertson and Arnold. That'd look very, very different, and teams would kind of panic that, you know, you get the ball into those midfielders. You're not, Liverpool kind of usually go wide, go to the full backs, go up the line to Salah and then attack. We can turn them around very quickly now with those players who can play a ball out wide. So I think, I was really pleased with the attacking intent from them. I think you get to see a bit more from them. Henderson is he's an athlete, he can fill in as well, but he will get into the box. But each of those players has done a job kind of in what Fabinho's doing now. But you've got Fabinho, as Jamie was saying before, no more words I can add to that. They know they can just play football. They know they can fill in if Fabinho drives, but all of them can carry the ball, all of them can have a shot, all of them can pass a ball. So it's really good, and I will be intrigued to see if we can get them three fit and the full backs back in and the main men up front, to kind of see how Liverpool play there, because you can kind of have five attackers then with the two full backs, those bombing on in midfield. You trust Van Dijk and whoever's next to them, and the Fabinho sitting. You know, it could be really, you know, it could be difficult for teams to defend against us without looking at that midfield and thinking, oh yeah, there's loads of attacking talents, because you wouldn't immediately think that of them. Yeah. And I think it might catch some teams out.
Salivating just listening to that.
I was just thinking, start them against Norwich.
No.
It makes me good.
It is exciting, though. It is exciting, and obviously, people talk about Mane not necessarily being in the best of form, but he scored 3 goals, you know, in the league this season. He scored the last 2 games, and Salah looks, I'd just like to throw in the we all know how good Mo Salah is, but I have never seen him look so sharp. In obviously, there was that season when he scored 40-odd goals, but even on the ball, you know, there was times where he was sloppy and he missed loads of chances as well. But this season, every touch, it's just, people just literally can't seem to get it off him now. It's like, he is literally up there with the best players in the world. He's the top. For me, I've seen a lot of players play at Anfield now, and like I always said, Suarez was the best I've seen with my own eyes in terms of how people just couldn't deal with him, and what even like the way he used his body to as well as his pace and whatever. And Salah is now, for me, he's overstepped that mark. I just think he's just like potentially one of the best players we've ever had at Liverpool, and I think he's just improving year after year.
He almost plays like a target man, doesn't he? There were a few times the ball comes up to him, he takes a touch and he's holding the man off, and it's like, that's kind of a thing you used to think of a traditional number 9. They'd get the ball, he'd control it, they'd lay it off to someone, they'd relieve the pressure almost. And Salah just does that, and even when it's going over him, the Palace defender knows he's got to get a head on it. Lots of times when it was kind of an awkward bounce, or it was just too far for Salah, they know they've got to deal with it. They've got to get their header or their clearance perfect, because otherwise Salah's going to pinch the ball. And he's bothering them all the time. He's just occupying their defenders, which makes a world of difference.
But when you can come short and go in behind, it gives you so much to think about as a defender, doesn't it? And puts you into states of confusion, and that's where Salah, obviously, like you just said, that's where he seizes. Once he finds that little bit of panic, that little mistake, and you know, he seizes on it, and that's what world-class players do. Yeah,
he is world-class in every department now, isn't he, Lizzie? And like JB says there, he must be such a nightmare to play against, because he's not just a finisher, he's just giving you nightmares from sort of minute one. He'll bounce you off the ball, he'll play like a target man, like Jay says there. I noticed he's in the top 10 Liverpool goal scorers now of all time, which you know, we're seeing like legends before our very eyes. Sadio Mane goes on to 100 goals for the club. He's only 18 have scored that many. He's now level with Kevin Keegan, and he's 8 behind John Barnes. And these are the people who you grew up either idolising or hearing about, or your mums and dads boring you about. And we're seeing their level of player now every week.
They must be the most underrated best players I've seen, if that makes sense. Like, I still feel like they don't get the credit that they deserve, and that shows just how good they are, because obviously we know there's some of the best players, but people still aren't putting them in the same top tier in the same breath as maybe your Luis Suarez's, or I don't know, your Dalglish's. And don't get me wrong, some of those names, Dalglish, Rush, whatever, Suarez, they are huge names, but I tell you what, they've absolutely well and truly put themselves up there. And with Salah, he's an absolute beast. And like, I was thinking then when Jamie was talking about him, about how fresh he is and how good he is on the ball, I think like what we're really seeing is the benefit of having some time off. Yeah. I think like what we heard about Mane last season, if you remember, there was it an interview from Mane or an interview from Klopp? I think it was Mane who just sort of said like, I'm struggling, and he basically said that he wasn't having a great time. It was towards the end of the season when everyone was sort of, you know, picking apart his performances. He's not scored in his form, and he come out and said like, you know, I've not been that great. And I think like having that time off for all of those players, the reset, they've got the fitness back, and mentally they're just prepared. And these are out and out winners, by the way. Like, they've won the Champions League, they've won the league, and they had to go through all last season. I think they've got a chip on the shoulder now, and it's like they're just not settling for anything else. And I think that's what we're seeing, is the hunger with these lads as well. And we watch these lads go week in, week out, day after day. I mean, like, these lads aren't even from our city, do you know what I mean? And they're putting in so much effort to make us happy. And like, I'll never be able to thank them enough for what they've done for us and what they will continue to do for us. And I think like it's very easy to get wrapped up in Ronaldo coming into the Premier League. You know, Lukaku, brilliant signing for Chelsea. City have signed Grealish. But I'm just there going, listen, you just watch Mo Salah. Like, he'll just slowly creep along, and he'll probably end up as the top scorer. It wouldn't surprise me that he ends top scorer for the Premier League again. And like I say, all the work that he does that isn't scoring as well, he's unbelievable. And because he's such a boss fella as well, like, I'm just so happy that we've got him and nobody else has. And like, that nobody is talking about him at the minute. Like, I'm really happy that we sort of get to appreciate him for what he is. Yeah. Maybe others don't, but then we've got that in our back pocket as well. And listen, he can take his shirt off at as many matches as he wants, as far as I'm concerned. You know, if that's the only yellow cards he's gonna get, like, I think that was such a moment, by the way, because
it shows his hunger as well, doesn't it? That's his second goal against Crystal Palace, but he wants this.
What, 5 games into the season and he's whipping his top off as if it's like Man United the other year, 2 years ago. And I'm thinking,
after
like,
the game on that, by the way, was funny.
He said, I want to take my top off too. I was like, I know, but like,
there's got to be a time now, isn't he, where Jürgen just joined in with him.
He's ran on the pitch.
He looked quite as good as Mo does, to be fair.
Listen, no one's
going to look as good. He'd get a bigger
cheer though. To be fair, but yeah, that did show sort of, I think, how frustrated the crowd were a little bit, but how frustrated they were. And for him to just go as berserk as he did, and Henderson just slowly picking his top up, like, come on, Mo. Get back in line.
Calm down, mate.
Yeah, brilliant.
That word hunger, Lizzie, is right for him, isn't it? And that's why I think he's got to where he is, and that's why he's now in one of our top 10 goal scorers of all time, and will continue to rise up that for as long as he plays at Liverpool, because he wants more from himself. I think he demands more from himself, Jay, as an athlete and as a footballer, but also, you know, he wants as much as possible for this team, and we're just seeing both of those things, and it's all the better for us.
Yeah, strikers should be greedy. Mo Salah has that thing in him, right, that when he's coming off, he's like it's genuinely like furious. He's like,
there's goals on that pitch.
Why are you taking me off? Why me? Why not someone else? He wants to play every minute he can possibly play. He wants to score every goal he can possibly score. Gets annoyed. He went into his own head the other day when he missed the penalty for a few minutes. He kind of was really annoyed at himself, because he's just imagining the individual accolades, but he knows that helps the team. I've seen a stat before the Palace game. I think in the games he's scored, we've only lost 4 of them. And Salah has that thing that lots of great Liverpool strikers have. They only seem to score goals that matter, goals that by and large win your game. Salah's not scored on the 5th in a 5-0 win for his first goal of the game. He scored on the 1st and the 2nd. His goals matter to Liverpool winning games, and I think he knows how pivotal he is to the team. I think he knows he's got kind of, he's the talisman. He's got to carry the team largely in scoring goals. He sets the tempo. He occupies defenders so that other players get pace. But to his credit as well, that greed goes through Mane as well. Mane's not been at it, and he's had chances, and you kind of think, well, I'll just pass it next time. But he doesn't. He backs himself that it will come good. He backs himself that he will score some of these chances eventually. And, Jota probably needs to do a bit of the same because it's not quite happening for him at the moment. And it's really good that we've got strikers like that back themselves. They know the ball falls to them in the box. They're not thinking what they're going to do. They're going to take a shot. Salah's goal there against Palace, it means a lot to him because he's thinking, we've deserved that goal. He's deserved that goal. The celebration shows that. He wants to be the best player he can possibly be. I thought his celebration was really, really interesting. He was kind of like, first time in a while I've seen him, well, I think ever maybe do this, like wanting the crowd to keep shouting his name. There was something in that. I don't know whether it's kind of...
There's a tweet later on where he talks about the energy he gets from the crowd as well.
He clearly knows maybe that they'll carry them. He clearly wants to be adored, and so he should. He knows how important he is. He knows, like, he's our star. He's a global star. And you wonder how much of it is kind of him wanting to go to that next level, to be that kind of, next Messi or Ronaldo kind of figure. Can he elevate himself to that status of, when the stats are getting there? Mane's are kind of maybe one just below that, where, like, I think their stats are like they score literally every game, or an assist is, he knows he's there now. He wants to score in every Liverpool game. He wants to drive Liverpool on. Selfishly for the accolades, probably selfishly for the contract and the money he believes he might deserve. But he's no longer measuring himself of kind of like, how do I keep getting better? He's just measuring himself in things that are now like something we all share in trophies and kind of being the best club we can be. So I think he's driving them on now. Almost like a captain. Gerrard used to play like this. Gerrard was captain because of how he performed on the pitch and not kind of like what he used to say to the players. And I think Salah's the same now. His performances, he knows he's like Liverpool's big star.
Yeah.
How can he drive us on? And it's really good that he's greedy. It is. It sounds like a strange thing to say because you want, as a team, you maybe don't want that. But I want Salah taking those chances. I want him taking 2 or 3 shots and getting frustrated at himself because he doesn't go into his own head on that. It's like drives him on to be better. So, I think it was really good. The celebration, said a lot. I think really meant loads to the team. We all, and fans, we all enjoyed it because we all enjoy seeing them. It matters as much to them.
Yeah.
And, it's Crystal Palace and it's like Liverpool are setting a bit of a marker down about, and I think, some of the journalists have said that Liverpool are setting a bit of a marker down about the team they are. They'll win games. They'll just keep winning games. They'll just keep doing what they need to do, whether it's easy or whether it's hard. And I think it sets a really good a really good kind of benchmark for the rest of the season. And if that's what they're like against Crystal Palace, imagine what they'll be like against Man City when we go in front. That kind of building a bit of momentum, building a bit of belief.
Absolutely. Just a word on the captain then as well, Jay. It's his 200th game as captain, which is a brilliant achievement. Only 7 Liverpool captains have captained the game for 200 times. So he's following the footsteps of Steven Gerrard, Emlyn Hughes, Sammy Hyypiä, Donald McKinlay, Alex Reisbeck and Ron Yates. It's unbelievable from him now, isn't it? And you're putting him up there with those sorts of great leaders, and that's where he's got to. A lot of people doubted him when he first got that armband, but he's answered it amazingly.
I just don't think anyone can write him off now as one of the greatest captains we've ever had. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you talk about all the great captains, you talk about Tommy Smith, you talk about Phil Thompson, you talk about all these captains, but they were in for a year or two, and then once like how it was at Liverpool back in the day, it was like, well, right, there's another lad now who's who could lead by example and maybe do a better role than you could, and there was it's these are big players, you know what I mean? Phil Thompson's like one of the most decorated captains we've ever had, do you know what I mean? And for Jordan Henderson to, Phil's not even on that list, and Jordan Henderson, he lifted the first ever Premier League title, do you know what I mean? Steven Gerrard, he's forever one of my first ever heroes, you know what I mean? We'll forever love Steven Gerrard and adore him, and I'll be telling my kids about Steven Gerrard the way my dad used to tell me about Dalglish and stuff like that. But he wanted to lift that Premier League trophy, didn't he? Do you know what I mean? That was his desire as the end of his captaincy, was to lift that. Jordan Henderson done the Champions League and then the Premier League a year later, do you know what I mean? Like that's never been done at Liverpool before. I just don't. Especially coming from where he was, having those boots to fill of Gerrard, and It was like he was writ off before he started, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Even when he came here, he was the stick that he suffered. You know what I mean? Some of me, you know, people close to me, very, very close to me, had Jordan Henderson voodoo dolls. Do you know what I mean? When he first started, because they were that, like, you know, he was playing a young lad playing out on the right hand side. He barely learned his trade as a central midfielder in the Premier League, and then obviously coming to this team, this midfield of Gerrard and whatnot, and the way he's just handled himself throughout. He took on the responsibility. He took the stick, you know, straight. He's not a Liverpool captain. He's not gonna lift you the Premier League. He's not gonna lift you the Champions League. And he just proved everyone wrong, and he just continues to prove people wrong. You know, people are saying, yeah, he doesn't do enough going forward. There you go. He's just scored the winner against AC Milan there. You know what I mean? He's popping up with chances. He's getting forward now. Like, he's just, again, like we talk about Milner as a top pro, and I think, you know, you talk about 3-4 years down the line, everyone in English football will be talking about Jordan Henderson as exactly the same. Do you know what I mean? And even the stick he took from Sir Alex Ferguson, saying that he'd never be able to play past 28 or whatever because of how he runs. Look at him now. You know what I mean? He's still one of the best, most complete midfielders in the Premier League. He's still, he's still, in his head, he's still competing for a league title in the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? He's up there with the best of the best, and we're lucky to have a Jordan Henderson. Do you know what I mean? Because after, you know, what he'd been through and the stick that he's took, and, you know, Rodgers wanted him to go to Fulham. Do you know what I mean? Not longer after he was there, and, you know, there'd be a lot of players who'd probably turn round after a certain period of time, and once they realised how good they were, oh, you know what? You should have thought about all that. You know, I'm going to PSG, or you know, I'm going to Barcelona, and I'm going to earn 300 grand a week now because I can. You know what I mean? And maybe you should have thought about that when you were giving me grief as a young lad. You know what I mean? But, you know, he's one of ours. He's one of us now. He's a Liverpool fan. You know, from what I can see, obviously he's still got his ties to Sunderland and whatever, but he is one of us. He represents us in every way now. The way he conducts himself off the pitch as well, all the stuff that he done, you know, with the players coming together during the COVID. It's like what you were saying about Salah now. He leads by example, not by instruction. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, you know, this is what you're gonna do, and he just goes and does it, and he lets everyone else do the talking for him now. You know what I mean? He's not here saying, I am a top Liverpool captain. He's like, well, if you can't make your minds up by now, I'm just going to keep doing my own thing. Do you know what I mean? And for me, he is one of the greatest captains we've ever had. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I haven't lived... We've been lucky to have had, you know, from my time, as from what I can remember going to match, really, it was Sami Hyypiä was the first proper captain for me as a kid. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously Gerrard for most of my childhood and most of me life, really, as the Liverpool captain. And then now Jordan Henderson stepped in, and he seems to, you know, it looks like he's going to be here for another few years as captain. So, you know, I've been really lucky to see 3 fantastic captains, and they're all on that list there. Do you know what I mean? So for me, he's one of the greatest out of a lot of them, because you look at his success, it's that simple now. Do you know what I mean? You just got to, you judge captain like my bitter Evertonian mates talk about our players, and they say he's not one of the best players in the world because what's he won? Well, they did say that, you know what I mean? You judge a player by his success. When you say, all right, then he's lifted everything he can lift now, minus the FA Cup, really. Do you know what I'm saying? And, you know, whatever, do you know what I mean? Talk about him however you want to talk about him. For me, he is up there with the greatest ever Liverpool captains for what he's lifted and what he's done for us, and the turnaround in his performances and his leadership. It's been probably one of the greatest, richest, you know, rags to riches stories in football for me. And, you know, there was only that documentary on LFC TV about him being here for 10 years and stuff like that. Now, you know, to play for Liverpool for 10 seasons is, make no mistake, a feat in itself. It's a feat in itself. Do you know what I mean? And to add the trophies and the captain's armband to that, you know, for me as well, in 2013-14 season, if he doesn't get sent off, we win the league that year as well. Do you know what I mean? He was a massive part. So he's been through so many different motions and phases as a Liverpool player, and now, you know, he is the man. As far as I'm concerned, he's your captain, he's your leader, he's one of your main driving forces in the team. And for me, you know, he obviously gave Harvey Elliott to go earlier on, but he's one of the first. Him, Van Dijk, Alisson, Fabinho, and Mo Salah. They're your first names on your team sheets every single week. And then, you know, like it proved against Palace, you can chop and change a couple of little players in terms. You can give the fullbacks a rest every now and again, but you've got to have that core leadership in the team when you don't have the luxury of Trent and Robbo, and you know you're going to swap and change. It's just, it wasn't a little word on Henderson, it was a big word, but you know, it was warranted and well needed to be said, I think.
Is right, deserved every word of that. Just a couple of more instances from the game before we sort of wrap it up in terms of this section. There is a few sort of hairy moments at the start, Lizzie. I don't know whether you put that down to a sort of a makeshift back forward or Palace just being quite good, but we could well have gone 1-0 down, and we needed that keeper who's another one who's world class, who we've not even talked about yet, but how lucky we are to have him.
I mean, it's mad, isn't it? You win 3-0, but you've got to mention the keeper. But he was absolutely brilliant, I thought, and it was that sort of, he made the touch, didn't he, for the first hairy moment, if you want to call it that.
The post,
to get onto the post. Then there was one in towards the end of the second half as well, wasn't there? He's absolutely excellent, and it's times, it's games like that I think Klopp said it, and I hope you know what I mean by this. Obviously, I'm absolutely lauding Liverpool. I think it was a great win, but I think it's probably one of the most complimentary 3-0s you'll see in a way in terms of the game itself. I'm not saying about Liverpool putting chances away whatsoever, because that's just, you know, that was the facts of the game, as Liverpool put them away and Palace didn't. But I think it was a hard-fought game, and that's when someone like an Alisson comes into it and is so important, because let's say, for example, you know, you're 2-0 up and Alisson isn't there and you've got someone else in goal, and then you know, you concede a goal, the direction of the game changes. You don't know how the mindset changes. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so important to have someone like him in your net, basically, who you know you can rely on, that if it does get past your defenders, and like I say, your makeshift back four for that game, that you've basically got the holy goalie there. Do you know what I mean? And you back him, and he absolutely showed his class for me at the weekend. And like I say, it's quite mad that he got quite a lot of shouts after the game. Like, the first thing when I walked in is my dad went to me, I mean, that was a great game, but what about Alisson? Do you know what I mean? He was like really quick to praise Alisson and Alisson's reactions. He was another one who was absolutely brilliant for me against Palace.
Absolutely. I just was going to talk a little bit about the set pieces, but I'm going to leave that to Neil. Neil has got some really good analysis in terms of all three of our goals come from set pieces, and I noticed some of the James Pearce have written being highlighted on social media about work we're doing in terms of those guys, you know, on sort of set piece movements, and in terms of chances created from set pieces, we're absolutely blowing the rest of the league away. So they're doing a lot of work, but I know Neil wants to do a lot of focus on that in the report and also in the review show for our Tour Player subscribers. So I will leave that up to Neil, who's smarter than me on all these sorts of things. But an interesting that all three goals do come from set pieces. Just the last thing I want to say on this game, Jay, I'll go to you, is that, you know, Lizzie says a bit there about sort of taking our chances. I would like us to start taking a few more, maybe sooner. That Jota miss is absolutely wild.
Like Rufus Smalls, that one, on Mike Bassett.
Watching it at half time on my mate's phone, and I don't know if anyone's watched it back.
Yeah.
It's not as bad. Well, certainly watching it back at half time.
Don't you reckon?
It wasn't as bad as I first thought in the game, because I thought it was a completely open goal. He's clearly panicked seeing the goalie fly across. But I just can't think what he's trying to...
I need to put that away.
No. He should be scoring it. What I'm saying is, like, I think at first I thought it was even worse than it was. I thought it was a completely open goal. But he just ran onto it, and instead of, like, just... little tap, just literally tap it in. Just tap it in.
It's not the same as that Mane one the other week, because Mane was leaning back and he just blammed across.
He just smashes it for like no reason. There's like, it's not like there's defenders on the line. He's got to get it past. I just don't know what's gone through his head, other than he must have just ran in and he hasn't thought.
Smash it.
He's just and he's panicked because he's not scoring goals or something. He's just like, I don't know. He's just thought. I think he's seen the glory of when you smash the ball into an empty net. He's seen that glory of like literally watching the ball bulge against the back of the net as he's ran in, and it's just like it's inexplicable, and it's that seems to get in his head. I don't think he had the greatest of games. He's, you know, you miss a chance like that, and then Keita scores a goal like that, and Jota must have been sat there thinking like, what have I got to do to score a goal? Like, what have I got? Like, how didn't that go in? How didn't it take a touch? How didn't the miss it? Didn't it go in? He literally hits it so pure that he cleared the goal.
I think though, he's like, so I know you've got to move on, but just on that, he scored 2 already this season, do you know what I mean? He scored in the first game and he scored in the second game. Yeah. We've only played 5, do you know what I mean?
Probably scored actually.
But it's this like kind of, I think it's a thing they apply to themselves, these players.
Exactly,
like,
that's what I mean.
They want to score in every game when they get those chances.
Yeah, I think also though, I think we, not you specifically, Jay, I think we as fans, like, we put too much pressure on them sometimes because we've been so blessed over the years of the high scores from the front 3, you know what I mean? I think Mane scored 3, Jota scored 2, Salah might have scored 4 in the league, do you know what I mean? Like,
Right, Mr. Sensible.
It's going good though, do you know what I mean? I'm just all about positivity, mate, and I just think, like, he missed a chance. It was a bad miss, but I think the more we talk about them not scoring goals, the more it's going to get into people's heads and the more it's going to become a thing. I think if we just, like, yeah, you go 3-4, yeah, you go 1-2, you know, let's all back a little bit. You miss a chance, get behind them. The biggest worry for me was when he missed that chance the other day. Everyone was like, after it, there was like 5 minutes of panic. Like, oh, what are you going to do? Oh, you know, it's not happening for us. If we haven't scored that, we're not going to score all day. And it's like, we are an unbelievable football team and we carve chances out of thin air all the time. Yeah. And we're going to see loads of goals. So I think when it doesn't happen in the first 20-25 minutes, we just need to just like stay behind them. I think it's one of the Klopp's biggest criticisms about us is the anxiety of like, and we know we want success, we crave it, and that's why. But I just think, you know, these are human beings on a football pitch. You know, I seen a few of our mates play 11-a-side the other weekend in the Woodburn fundraising, and I tell you, it's a lot easier said than done. Do you know what I mean?
So you didn't have to look right at me, Jamie, when you said that.
He played, John. No one else here played. Do you know what I mean? But I chickened out, like. But yeah, like I just think it's going good. We've got amazing players who are all going to score. Front 3 wise, I think all of them are going. Bobby's even scored this season. You know what I mean? I think we're all going to score about 15 minimum. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's going to be great. I wasn't having a go, Jay. I was just like,
it was a bad miss.
Yeah, it was a terrible miss. It was, and he needs to, you know, he should take stick off his teammates for it and that. You know what I mean? But no more than like a jokey, rather than like he's not scoring because he's bagged 2 already. And the header against Burnley was a top draw. You know, Michael Owen would have been proud of that glancing header. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, we're in good shape. Okay, I just want to talk about a couple of other things before I round up with a little chat about Norwich. First of all, the Anfield Wrap are doing some podcasts in front of an audience. So we're at Leaf on Monday, the 11th of October. So we're doing one podcast. We're doing What Football Means to Me, which is really popular. One of our subscriber shows, Adam Smith's hosting that with me. And then we're doing AFQ Football with the audience, going to be asking the questions. So if you've always wanted to sit in on a podcast, this is your opportunity. Monday, the 11th of October, we're doing 2 that night at Leaf on Bowl Street. Really looking forward to it. Tickets are available from eventim.co.uk. So if you go to eventim, so that's event and then im.co.uk and search for the Anfield Wrap, you will find those. That should be sent out on our social media. If you can't find them, just message me and I'll send you. But they're looking forward to that. Also, we've changed our other free show slightly. We're now doing it live, which is good fun. So the Weekender is replaced by a show called Tour Live, which we're moving around throughout the week when we think it'll be most fun, basically, to do it. This week we're doing it at 4:45 on Friday night. So like the old Radio City talk days, we're going to be booming live across Liverpool for your drive home. So really looking forward to that. Me and Neil and a couple of others will be doing that 4:45. So it'll be available as a podcast as normal. But if you want to join us live, get involved in the comments. We do sort of bring some of the comments up to come through on YouTube and stuff like that. That's 4:45 on Friday. But look out for that on social as well. Also, Hot Mic will be doing for both games. So we haven't done much of it this season so far because we are back in grounds, and that's fantastic. But not many going to Norwich, and Brentford's obviously a small allocation as well. So we're going to be doing Hot Mic for Tuesday and for Saturday's games. So it's completely free. You just download the app on your phone and then you can enjoy our commentary along with the game on your screen. So just go to the Hot Mic app, which is available on Apple and Android. Use the code Anfield Wrap, please, when you download it, and that way you get it for free. And it's and you can join that with us. But again, if you're not sure, just message me and I'll help you out. And I mentioned before as well about the extra shows that we'll be doing
reporting on the game against Crystal Palace. So Neil is hosting a report and also the review, which is I think he did yesterday actually, which will be out today, which is a bit more of an in-depth look at those games and from some people who were able to sort of help him out with that. So we think it's a really great time to subscribe to the Anfield Wrap. We'll be having presents at all these games. Some mad bastards from the office are going to Norwich. Absolutely fair play for the league game. I'm going down to Brentford, which I'm really looking forward to, and some of the boys, including Josh, are going over to Porto as well. So we're sharing the journey best we can of supporting this amazing football team. We'd love you to come on the journey with us. So if you go to theanfieldwrap.com/subscribe and you can get involved. It's £7 for audio, £7 for video, or £10 for both. And as I say, at the moment, we're all just loving it, aren't we? And we think we share that energy better than anyone else. And then quickly, Jay, you're back playing live. We had a good time, didn't we? Mountford Hall.
Oh,
we enjoyed ourselves.
We did. It was boss. Like, it's been a long time coming, that gig. Like, obviously, it was supposed to be the album gig last September or something like that. And by the time obviously everyone's had more time to listen to the tunes, so like it was a much anticipated return to the stage for me and my band, and I just can't thank anyone who was there enough, anyone who showed any support over leading up to this time until I'm back playing live. But it was just from the first minute I walked out onto the stage, do you know what I mean? Like, they say energy is contagious, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And like, I tried to let them know that I was right up for it, and they certainly let me know right back that they were up for it. And from that moment, it was just, everyone was so consumed in what was going on, and like, I just felt it. It was just, it's I will go as far to say it's the best I've ever felt up on stage, do you know what I mean? It was like that euphoric feeling of just like, I have needed this, do you know what I mean? Like, I've had little tasters with socially distanced and seated and acoustic gigs and, you know, Ross nights, getting back into it, but to be back there with the band, there's just no feeling like it. And just, thank you to everyone who came, and just I think like,
it was certainly our pleasure, let me tell you. We had a really good time. And you're not resting on your laurels. There's a new album out which you can pre-order now. It's out in February, but people can order it now and support you. Yeah,
get on my store, get on all the links on my bios on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. You can just search in Jamie Webster Moments on iTunes and pre-order it there on your phone. That's the easiest way for everyone to do things these days. But if you want to get a vinyl or a CD as well, we've got loads of Boss colours and loads of nice t-shirts and mugs and stuff like that coming out with them. And again, it's just a record of what I've done over the last 18 months. Obviously, I haven't been able to gig, but I've written and recorded this album, and I'm honestly telling you, it's my best work to date. Do you know what I mean? Everything's developed. It's took a step up. The sound, the songwriting, even me singing. It's just a lot better than I could have ever dreamed that I'd put an album out like. And to work with a platinum producer like David Ringer and do it in Rockfield Studios, it was just a dream come true. And if anyone can get behind it, thank you for the support that we get by, but it's time to do it all fucking again.
It's right. Okay, very quickly on Norwich. Lizzie, expecting wholesale changes, or do you think there might be a few surprises in there?
Wholesale changes. I mean, I'm looking at all the names on your agenda and I'm not seeing Mr. Nat Phillips.
So I do apologise. So I've put on here Kelleher, Gomez, Jones, Keita, Origi, Minamino, Chamberlain.
No, to be fair.
So that's sort of 7 good players. If you're adding that Phillips to that 8, so you're not talking about necessarily throwing a load of kids in. These are good players. There's unique games at the moment, and I think whoever he does put out, will be a good team. Yeah,
100%. I think the only place we might see like a younger player might be midfield or forward, because I think the team might pick itself really. I mean, if it was me, I've already done the team in my head. So I'd do like Kelleher, I think it'll be Simicast, I think it'll be Gomez, Phillips, Nico Williams, and then you put there's Chamberlain, Keita, Jones, Origi, Minamino, and then that's where the sort of question mark
maybe
is for me.
Maybe a Kay Gordon or someone like
or
that.
Whether he pushes Oxlade-Chamberlain a bit further forward to try and play that role that he's trying to adapt him to sort of fill in for that Firmino, Jota, who knows, but I think that might be the only place where we might see. I mean, I can't see him playing any of the first 11. I could be wrong, but you might play a Jota or something for confidence, but I just think at the minute with Firmino injured, I don't think we really have the space to be like throwing in like a proper first team player at the minute, especially from that forward line. So I think it will be a sort of backup 11. Like you say, they need game time because they will be needed down the line in the Champions League and in the league at some point. So this is the best time to get them tested.
Hopefully Mo Salah's just watching at home. Hot mic commentary, Mo. I'd recommend it if you want to enjoy it.
And John takes his top off too.
I certainly don't look as good as Mo Salah. Listen, we'll leave it there. I hope you've enjoyed it. Loads more previewing that Norwich game on the Anfield Wrap, so download the app and enjoy yourself. But in the meantime, thanks a lot to Jamie, to Lizzie and to Jay and to Andy for producing. That has been the Anfield Wrap. Up the Reds, we're looking good.